Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for another Lunch and Learn, a bite-sized conversation about the publishing industry. And it's so great to have with me today my coworker, Karen McNally Upson, who's our Director of Sales, and special guest, Stacy Ennis. So Stacy is a best-selling author, book strategist, and coach, and speaker on a mission to help leaders clarify their ideas and harness their unique story to make an impact. Stacy has impacted more than 100 books through her 16 years in publishing. Amazing. And has been featured in Yahoo, Inc., Insider, Publishers Weekly, and the TED Stage. Fabulous. Stacy is the host of the podcast Beyond Better and holds a master's in writing and editing from the University of Cincinnati. We're going to link her website below, but if you just can't wait for that link, it's stacyennis.com, and the last name is Ennis. And my name is Georgie, and I'm the marketing director at Girl Friday Production. It's so great to see you guys because we have so much to talk about.
Yeah.
And so, with that, we're just going to get started. So, Stacy, I think a nice segue from your bio to what you actually do is that to tell us about book coaching, that journey, and then we're going to segue and Karen's going to lead us into how the book coaching kind of transitions into actually making the book, publishing the book. So, can you get started and tell us on how you work with people and how you bring their book to life?
Sure. Yeah, it's interesting because I find that a lot of people are like, a book coach. That's a thing? I didn't know that was a thing. It's kind of surprising. I think that this exists as a thing that people can hire and get support on. But it makes sense if you think of any other major thing you want to accomplish or a skill you want to learn, because book writing is a skill that you can learn. Of course, you're going to work with a coach. And my journey started in as a book editor. So I started working both in the magazine world and also as a book editor. I was a ghostwriter for a long period of time. And through both my editing journey and my ghostwriting journey, I was able to develop a system to write a nonfiction book. And so I realized as I was ghostwriting multiple books that if I wanted to be successful, I needed to develop a system for myself. And then as I developed that system, I started teaching it to other people. I think I did my first how to write a book workshop in 2015. It was a in-person workshop. I was pregnant at the time. I remember that very, very vividly. And so really over the past 10 years, I've evolved from that one day workshop into working with people over a period of 6 months to write their books. And it really is about giving a system, but also that support, the accountability.
Sure.
Just today, I celebrated with a client who finished her draft. And while I believe in her ability to finish that on her own, in our conversation, it was really clear that that accountability and support was absolutely vital to finishing that draft. And so really my job as a book coach is not to, take a bunch of different ideas, put them in the system, and basically the same book comes out on the other end, but really to teach people the skill of writing a book, help them uncover the book that's already within them, help them then position that book for success, and then keep them accountable and then hand them off to a wonderful publisher like Girl Friday when it's all done.
What I love about what Cece does is that she's there to keep the author feeling on track and confident and trusting their instincts. And that is so important for the rest of the journey as well. So once the draft is complete, you need another set of fresh eyes to look at the content and make sure that you're fulfilling the promise that you made to your reader from the beginning. And that's all the work that Stacy does with her authors to get that structure down, the concept of the book, the why of the book, and really codify all of that. So then what's so great about how Stacy gets her clients ready for the next step is that they know that they've got a sound roadmap for what they've created, and then we get to come in, our developmental editor comes in and looks at the content and makes sure that they fulfilled the promise to the reader, like I said, and also stayed within the structure. Is there anything in the content of those chapters where it's maybe falling short. There are some holes, or it lags a little bit. Maybe it's a little uneven. It's a really close look at that full trajectory. And that's something where having that team as you're moving along through the production process is so helpful. And that's where we come in to take the baton, as I like to say, from a book coach and the author, and to help them down the rest of the process.
Right.
Can
And
I
by the
build on that, Georgie? Is
yes,
that
please.
okay?
Yes.
Okay. I love all of what you just said, Karen, and I think, from my side, handing over a client to a trusted partner like Girl Friday, it's so important that your team provides the same level of care to that client and to that project all the way through. One of the main repeated conversations that I have with clients as they're writing their drafts is, how much do I like try to make this a really good draft? And how much do I just write the draft down and then trust the editorial process on the other side? And I really like what you said because about the positioning and the structure, because when I was a book editor, one of the key things that I would fix for authors is the structure of the book, lack of a clear message, lack of a clear reader. And so those were the things that a lot of other things are fixable, but when those aren't done well at the beginning, it can
Yes.
really lead to a lot of work down the road. What I love about your team and your approach and the handoff that I trust so much when I hand over is that I know we've done the work of structure. That doesn't mean that your team might not see something to even further improve it, but I know
Mhm.
that the bones and the positioning and the concept is really strong. So really
Yeah.
what they get to do is come in and take it from a good solid draft to a really excellent book. And that's where that editorial process comes in. And it doesn't matter if you are a super experienced author writing your seventh book or a brand newbie
Mhm.
writing your first book, all books need to go through deep editing. Like
Yeah.
it's part of the journey of a book.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, and I love when authors are feeling so confident that they've got everything on the page. I love
Yeah.
that. And it's an opportunity to confirm that, open their eyes to things that they're not seeing, because boy, by that time you're so close to it. And a lot of authors at that point, they're like, oh gosh, I'm done. Like, I'm really finished with this process. I really feel like it's ready to go. And it's like, yep, I hear you. Let's take a breath. And then when we get that fresh set of eyes, and really the developmental edit process is a collaborative process. It's about really supporting the author. It is about making sure that they feel comfortable with everything that the reader is experiencing, because that developmental editor is really the second set of eyes, assuming, Stacy, you're maybe giving it a read through. It's a second set of professional eyes to assess the manuscript and determine, hey, is this what's missing? And it's such a gift to authors when they go through that. They really feel like, oh wow, I'm so glad I had that extra support. And then from there, it's about nuts and bolts polishing, the verb tense agreement, punctuation, spelling, consistency of terms, all of those things down the line that make a polished book. So it when you've got that strong foundation, like Cece you described, you've got everything you need to get it across the finish line.
I'm curious to hear like what kind of people come to you to begin with, because some people think, "Oh, I could just write a book. Like I'll just write it right now." And then they'll think it's ready for publishing, or it could set them up for disappointment because it's not there. So what kind of people come to your company to ask for that help with book coaching?
Mm. Well, I think that inherently there is humility when you go and seek support on something and you know you have something to learn.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about I'm taking Portuguese tomorrow morning. I have essentially a coach in Portuguese. I don't know how to learn this on my own. I need help. And I think to come in with that mindset, these are typically, I work with really high achieving individuals. And all of these high achieving individuals are high achieving individuals because they have recognized gaps in their knowledge or skill set and they
Mm.
have sought support Early in their careers, that might have been, a mentor or something. But later in their careers, many of them have worked with leadership coaches, business coaches. They've gotten coaching in other spheres. So they understand how valuable that is. And when they learn that they can work with a book coach, it just makes sense to them because it's a huge goal. I, and it's interesting. I know this is the same for your team. When an author reaches out, there's a mutual exploration. So on their side, they're deciding if I'm the fit for them, and on my side, I'm deciding if they're the fit for me. And
Mhm.
for me, there's some really clear signs that somebody is a really good fit. One is that they're clearly coachable. They come in and they're proud of maybe the work they've done, or they have a clear view of their book, but they don't come in saying, here's exactly what I need and here's why I need it.
Mhm.
And can you tell me how much it's going to cost to do that? Like that
Right.
to me is a bit of a red flag because I've spent 16 years developing this expertise, and you might be right. Many times people are very wise and they come in and
Mhm.
there's maybe a few tweaks, but they often know what they need. But when you're brand new to an area, to come in with the curiosity in the conversation, I think for me, that's what I'm looking for. For us, the other thing that is like a non-negotiable, and I know this is the same for your team, is that they have to be putting good into the world in some way. This
Yes.
book has to also uplift. So that word is really important. That also means that I don't work on books that are really deep trauma explorations typically,
Mhm.
unless there is some really clear connection to an uplifting message or somebody that they're trying to serve, and there's a really clear tie to that social good side. And so that those are kind of the operating principles. And then genre-wise, I'm only nonfiction. Business leadership, social equity is a huge part of the work that we do. Science, wellness, medicine, and personal development. And we also work in memoir, but not so much literary memoir. It's more, I call it like marketable memoir, memoir with a message, keynote memoir.
Yeah.
It's those books that are part of your story to help you achieve something or make an impact in the world.
But when it comes to book publishing, I'm curious to hear, Karen, we'll start with you, what you think about when someone says, what's the ROI as far as even book production or the marketing dollars? What's your
Mhm.
response to that?
Yeah. Well, oftentimes what I am responding to is a question about unit sales of the book.
Right.
If I invest in this, will the unit sales of the book, will I break even? Will I be profitable? Will I be buying that beach house and quitting my day job? And
Right.
there are a lot of big dreams out there. And there are a lot of misconceptions about the publishing industry and how profitable it is or isn't. There are a lot of perceptions around books that sell and how many units they sell and things like that. So when I get that question, it is often coming from the place of are the unit sales of the book going to be a good return on my investment? And the answer is maybe. However, most of the time, the return on investment is going to come from something else. It's going to come from establishing yourself as a thought leader in this space, giving you this legitimizer of your ideas and your expertise. It's also going to be something that will open doors for potential workshops, speaking engagements, drawing attention to your company, your business, and possibly driving clientele. So that is where I direct the ROI answer because unit sales alone are, again, the book publishing industry, the profit margins on books are low. So you're talking about a lot of volume, and you're also often talking about a very crowded category. You are out there trying to establish your voice in a crowded room. So focusing on what the book is going to do for you and your purpose behind writing the book, which is something that I know Stacy talks about with her clients, really honing in on, is this book about unit sales, or is this book about, for you, or is this book about bringing your expertise to the conversation? Those are two things that are a little bit different. So that's where I explore that question with the author, and I try to provide as much reality as I can being transparent about the opportunity is so important because it is a big investment in time. It's a big investment in money. And we want you, when you're working with us, we want you to have your eyes wide open about what is possible.
Mhm. Do you get that question, Stacy, even at the book coaching step?
Oh, yeah. I mean, certainly it's probably in the top 5 questions that people ask me on the first call. I don't have a lot to add to what Karen said from a like practical standpoint. Um, but I would layer in that there's also a really intangible piece to this, which is how you evolve throughout the process of writing and publishing your book and the way that you change and transform and show up bigger, more confident, clearer. That translates to client conversations, to programs you lead, to speeches you give. There is that whole piece that is so incredibly important. And I understand the trying to calculate the book sales, like how many books do I need to sell? That's the simplest, clearest math, and it makes complete sense to me. But again, to echo Karen, those of us in the industry know that where clients see the highest ROI is through opportunity. It's the doors it
Yes.
opens, it's the status that it brings. Going from not having a book to having a book totally changes the game for you when you're pitching, to speak at a conference or
Yeah.
you're trying to win a client or get on a podcast, all of these things. It's just such a huge, huge differentiator. So I really encourage people, just like Karen said, to think more holistically. The other
Mhm.
thing I think is really important to know, or it's important for me when I work with people, is that the investment you make in your book should not be a make or break amount of money. So, especially our teams work on a more premium level, and
Mhm.
we're certainly not um, I think I can speak for both of us. We are not the cheapest for sure in the industry.
Mhm.
Like we charge what we do because that is what we need to be able to serve at the level that we need to and want to serve our clients. And so if you are coming into the process and investing money that is dear to you, that's going to create a
Yeah.
lot of fear and scarcity mindset.
Mm.
So I would just encourage people to also be really thoughtful as they're making that investment to be budget conscious and invest what they need to and what they're capable of, and that's going to feel abundant to them as they get into that process so that when they get into later stages where more money will need to be invested, such as marketing, PR, marketing assistant, you're going to get so
Mhm.
busy, you're going to need extra help. That's what happens when you become an author. So all these things coming up to really approach it from that, it's like a business investment,
Mhm.
really, for a lot of our clients. It's like a different version of that, I think, because of the stage that I'm in. Usually the question sounds something like, can I just start? And then if I don't feel like I want to continue after 2 months, or am I able to quit or something? It's something along those lines. Like it's like, can I test the waters? And what if the book isn't viable? And I always say no, like a very firm, kind, but a very firm but kind no. And I just let them know that you're either all in or you're not. And if you're not all in, let's talk again in 6 months or a year when you are ready. Because
Yeah.
I think it's true in the writing process. It's certainly also true in the publishing and marketing process.
Yes.
Like you have to be in it to win it.
Yes.
Like you need to,
Yes.
it's go time. You got to show up.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I do get the question, Georgie, and oftentimes it comes in the form of, I can you tell me how many books I will sell? And if can you tell me will I break even on my investment? And so the answer to that is I cannot tell you how many books you'll sell because nobody can see that. Nobody, there are no guarantees. Anybody that you talk to that does make those guarantees, you should run from because they can't make any promises there.
Right, right.
And then, the question of breaking even and that sort of promise of that what the investment is going to achieve for them is it's something that I say we have authors that have do not break even on their investment and their return on investment as we talked about earlier is something different. It's paid speaking engagements. It's really codifying their thought leadership in these conversations they're having where they are an expert. It's opening doors for other opportunities. And I will say that the authors that we work with that have broken even, it's because they are out there showing up. They are spending 4 to 8 hours a week talking about their area of expertise that's in their book. And they are out there really putting themselves in a place to maximize their investment in not just in their book, but in their entire brand.
Yeah.
Can I layer on also to what Karen said? Because I was thinking too, obviously it's such a wide industry with such a variety of quality service providers on every single end of the spectrum, whether you're working with a book coach or an editor or a publisher or marketer, whatever it is. Um, what I've also found in relation to ROI is that a great book is shelf stable. It's a sustainable long-term tool for revenue generation, so that business growth, speaking opportunities,
Yep.
whatever that is. And a lot of people who try to shortchange the process, I'm not even just talking financially. I heard an ad recently from somebody who had, this process where you just talk to them for like an hour a week and they make a book for you. And it was in 90 days and now you have a business tool. And I was like, no, that's not how this works. If you want to create something that is really powerful and sustainable and that you
Mm-hmm.
are going to get great return, you have to put in the work. Most of the time, that means writing it. Sometimes it means working with a writer that can support you in that
Mm-hmm.
in a meaningful way. Um, but that other piece of it that I think is actually part of the determiner, and I also think to your point, the people that show up in those 4 to 8 hours are the people that
Yeah.
showed up every day to write. Like they're the
Yep.
ones that did the work early on. To your point, I think there is a place for sure for different approaches. For example, you have a great grandmother that you want to capture her story, and that is a
Mm-hmm.
very different approach of everything than how you would approach a thought leadership book. Those are very different. You also probably aren't going to spend tens of thousands of dollars on the publishing process for that. That probably wouldn't make a lot of sense because it's probably for your family. So it's like any other thing. You need to give the seriousness to the investment of time, energy, and money to this thing if you want to get great return on the other side.
So when it comes to ROI in marketing, there's return on investment, and most people talking dollars when they say something like that, but also return on investment when it's time. So Karen, I love that you said about investing the hours, 4 to 6, 4 to 8 hours, and then also, does someone need an assistant? I mean, I do think a lot of people going into it, there are some romantic notions about being an author and I'm going to have the book in the store and that sort of thing, but it actually is work. Again, going back to this whole gym kind of analogy we have going on. You can't eat one blueberry and think that you're going to be super healthy. You can't go to the gym once and think that you're going to be all like a buff dude. So that's not something that's happening. So the return on investment, when people ask me that, I say it can be there, but nothing will replace an active and engaged author. There's a lot of services that we do at Girl Friday. There's a lot of services that your company does, Stacy. But at the end of the day, I think it does come down to author hustle. You have to be in it to win it. And you said it, and we always say at Girl Friday, it's a marathon, not a race. It's going to take time. And my biggest advice there, because a lot of what we do in marketing is kind of coaching, like you can do it. Let's keep going. Your book is interesting. It's well written. It has a beautiful cover. You've put in the investment in that as far as time and money and all that. And so let's keep going. I always do think it's sad when people abandon it because it might, we haven't talked about time frame at all when we're talking about return on investment. Are you going to get return on investment within a month, the book coming out? Probably no. I'm going to say probably no. It is something that's going to take some time. So the author that treats it like a job, but a job that they love, um, I do think that they will be successful. And success is many different things. It could be bestseller status on Amazon or the other ones that people like. It could be success is that someone reached out to me and approached me to do a TED Talk. I mean, people, that's like the golden egg right there. People love that. But little teaser, I'm going to be doing some work with Stacy where I'll be sharing more about marketing on what they can do. And so that will be a great conversation that's coming up very soon, Stacy. I'm really looking forward to that. And that really is getting down to the nitty-gritty, and that the viewers will walk away with having the 4 things that you can do right now, what kind of author you are, and how to get there. So that I really look forward to that conversation.
Me too. I know because you're coming into our author community. So these are many of them have published already. Many of them are waiting, they're on the pathway to publish. And I know one of the things that they'll often ask, speaking of ROI, is like you get through the launch, okay, now what? So I'm so
Mhm.
excited for you to get to share with this group, and it's gonna be awesome.
For your time. It was so great to see both of you, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thanks for having me.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's been fun.
Yeah.